You ever spend years building something with your own two hands, only to have someone try to take it, just because they think they can? Yeah, that's where my story starts. My name's Jack Turner, and for 2.5 years, every night after work and every weekend, I was out in my garage bringing a pile of rust and regret back to life. A 1963 Bentley S3. She wasn't just a car. She was my therapy, my escape, and in some strange way, my connection to my dad. He was a mechanic his whole life, the kind of guy who could tell what was wrong with an engine just by the sound. He used to say, "Son, machines don't lie. People do." I didn't really get it back then. But oh, I get it now. The day I finished the car felt like Christmas morning. The pearl gray paint caught the sunrise. The chrome gleamed like liquid glass. And that hood ornament. It wasn't just shining, it was smiling. My wife, Laura, walked out with 2 mugs of coffee and this proud little grin. "She's gorgeous," she said. "You actually did it." And for about 10 peaceful minutes, everything was perfect. Then came Margaret Hensley, the queen of our homeowners association, self-appointed ruler of our little suburban kingdom, Maple Ridge Estates. Picture a woman who thinks her clipboard gives her divine authority. Margaret wasn't walking, she was marching, like a general heading to war, straight up my driveway. "Morning, Margaret," I said, keeping my voice easy. I've always believed in being polite right up until the moment it's time not to be. She didn't answer. She just circled the Bentley like a vulture eyeing a steak. Then she said, "Jack, this vehicle, it violates Section 9, Paragraph 2, no inoperable vehicles visible from the street." I laughed. "Margaret, this car runs smoother than your HOA meetings." She didn't blink. Instead, she pulled something from her pocket. A bright yellow plastic tag with the words "Property of Maple Ridge HOA" written in thick black marker. Before I could even react, she looped a zip tie around the hood ornament and yanked it tight. Click. "There," she said. "It's officially designated as community property. It'll be the lead car in our Founders Day parade next month." I just stared at her. "You can't be serious." "My position grants ownership," she said. And then she walked away like she'd just declared victory at Normandy. Laura was already filming the whole thing with her phone. She doesn't say much when she's angry, she documents. That's when I knew it wasn't just about a car. It was about control. Margaret wanted to prove that her title meant she owned everything she could see. So, I did what any rational man with a camera-savvy wife and a very expensive car would do. I prepared for war. We started documenting everything. I took photos of the title, the VIN, the insurance, every scrap of proof that the car was mine. Then, with a slow, deliberate snip, I cut that stupid yellow tag off. Sure enough, the next morning, we got a letter from the HOA, a $1,000 fine for tampering with community signage and failure to comply with board directives. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. Laura didn't. She just said, "She's not done." She was right. 2 days later, at dawn, I heard the rumble of a tow truck outside. A beat-up old thing, coughing smoke like a chain smoker at a marathon. And there was Margaret, umbrella in hand, shouting orders like a dictator in pearls. "Remove the vehicle," she barked. The driver, this skinny kid named Kyle, looked from her to me, to the $500,000 Bentley, and back again. Ma'am, this looks like private property." "It's community property," she snapped. I stepped between the truck and my car. "Look, kid, you hooked that car, and when it breaks, I'm suing you, not her. This car's worth more than your entire rig." He froze. You could see the gears turning in his head, trying to decide which of us was crazier. Margaret started waving cash, $200. "Just get it done." He took the money. I took out my insurance policy, my old F-250, parked it nose to nose with the Bentley, and ran a steel winch cable from my truck's frame to the Bentley's rear axle. 2 tons of American iron anchoring 2 tons of British class. Kyle revved his truck. The chain tightened, the tires screamed, rain started falling like it was adding drama for free. The Bentley didn't move an inch. Then, crack, the tow strap snapped and whipped back into his fender. Silence. Kyle climbed out, tossed the cash at Margaret's feet, and said, "Lady, you're insane." Then he drove off, leaving her standing in the rain, soaked and furious. I picked up my hubcap from the street, gave her a little smile, and said, "Looks like your parade just got canceled. You'd think that would be the end of it, right?" Wrong. A week later, in the middle of the night, our power went out. Only ours. The whole block was still lit up. Laura whispered, "She wouldn't." "Oh, she would," I said, grabbing my flashlight. We heard footsteps in the yard, 2 of them. Big guys, dressed in dark hoodies, trying to open the side gate. I slipped out the front door, quiet as a ghost, while Laura filmed through the window. Just as they lifted the latch, I flipped my flashlight on full beam. Looking for something? They panicked. One shoved me and tried to run. The other stumbled back into the yard. I slammed the gate and locked it. One outside, one trapped inside. "Congratulations," Laura called from the porch, phone still rolling. "You're in timeout." I dialed 911 and handed the guy a juice box through the fence while we waited. Yeah, a juice box. Apple grape. Felt like poetic justice. Turns out, they were Margaret's cousins. She'd paid them $100 each to retrieve community property. When the cops showed up, they confessed everything. Breaking and entering, cutting our breaker box, even mentioning her name on camera. That's when it stopped being petty. It became criminal. But we didn't just want her arrested. We wanted her gone. Laura and I built a case like lawyers in flannel pajamas. We printed every letter, saved every video, and even got a response from the HOA's insurance company confirming that any parade using private property wasn't covered. Meaning if Margaret had succeeded, the entire community would have been liable. Then came the final act, the annual HOA meeting. The room was packed. Margaret sat at the front in her power suit, pretending she still ran the show. When she tried to adjourn early, I stood up. "Actually, Madam President," I said, "I have some new business." People murmured. Margaret tried to shut me down, but the neighbors wanted to hear it. I plugged in my laptop, turned on the projector, and hit play. First clip, Margaret zip-tying that yellow tag to my car. Gasps all around. Next, the tow truck fiasco, tires screaming, straps snapping, Margaret yelling in the rain. People laughed. Then, the night footage. Her cousins hopping my fence, whispering. Margaret said this would be easy. The laughter stopped. And finally, the grainy video of her trying to unscrew my license plate an hour before the break-in. The room went silent, then erupted. People shouting, "She's a thief. Resign." And that's when the treasurer, a quiet little guy named Arthur, stood up with shaking hands. "There's more," he said. "I found a $10,000 payment from the HOA to a fake parade consultant. The business address matches one of those men who broke into Jack's yard." The room exploded. Margaret sat there frozen, face pale, eyes darting like she was looking for an escape hatch that didn't exist. Then the police walked in, real casual, like they'd been waiting for the cue. Sergeant Miller looked at her and said, "Ma'am, you're under arrest for attempted theft and fraud." They cuffed her right there in front of everyone. You could have heard a pin drop. Then the room erupted again, but this time in applause. A few days later, a for sale sign popped up on her perfect lawn. She made bail, but the community was done with her. That Saturday, I finally did what I'd wanted to do since day one. I rolled the Bentley out, polished her one more time, and took Laura for a drive. We passed Margaret's house on the way out. I gave a polite little toot-toot on the horn. Laura laughed. "You're terrible." "I know," I said, "but I'm her terrible." As the road opened up and the sun hit that gray paint, I realized my dad was right. Machines don't lie. People do. But when you stand your ground, when you fight with truth and a bit of humor, the right people always end up standing with you. So here's my question for you. If someone tried to take what's yours, not with force but with arrogance, would you fight back, or would you walk away? Drop your answer in the comments, because I'd really love to know how you'd handle your own Margaret.